Good morning, everyone. A little bit louder. Good morning, everyone. Yes, yes. Okay, so my chancellor isn't here yet, but I do want to say a couple of things. One, our Sac City College leader is not with us today, Michael, but I know that every thought he has right now is about you and about the work you're doing, and that he's not here. I had a chance to visit him when he was in the hospital, and I've had a chance to talk to him. His spirits are high, he's highly motivated, and he can't wait. We're gonna have to kind of keep him down a little bit so he can heal appropriately, but he can't wait to get back here with you. So those are my thoughts about Michael. But I also have thoughts about you, and it's this. If I know nothing, I know that Sac City College, that means you are going to do everything you can to not miss a step, not miss a beat, because that is what you are all about. So I know that even without Michael here, you're going to do everything you can to do what is best and what is in the best interest, not only of the faculty and the staff, but of the students, because they are first and center in everything that we do. I just came back from Los Angeles. I am the grandmother of 5 girls. Yes. One of them is at UC Irvine, but she is also a graduate, a transfer student out of Santa Monica College. And I have another granddaughter right underneath her who is entering Santa Monica College. But what I want to talk about is my third granddaughter, Megan, who is entering high school as we speak. And I was down there trying to get her the clothes and the books and all of those kinds of things. I just got back last night. Because Megan is at a place where what we are doing here on our community colleges can make the most impact on her and tens of thousands of other community college-bound folks or students out of high school to get what they need in order to be successful and in order to move through our system in a way that they can achieve their dreams. And so she has you to thank about the work you've been doing for the last few years and about the work you will continue to do. I know that not only you, but your colleagues on every single community college within this district and across the state, you're going to look at what's happening with our students relative to math and English. We're going to celebrate every single success. We're going to also assess what's not working, and I know that we're going to fix it if it isn't. I absolutely believe that to the core of my soul, to the bottom of my feet. And so let me get my prepared remarks, because I think the chancellor is here. Okay. So I want to say thank you for all the work you do, and on behalf of the entire Los Rios Community College District Board of Trustees, I'm really happy to be. I already told you how happy I am to be here. I know that many of you have been working tirelessly, and some of that work has been over the summer, but I'm hoping, and we're hoping, that you've had a chance to be with your loved ones, to get a little respite, because that's also important too. This room is full of folks who are excited about this new venture as we step into this new semester. And for me, I try not to miss convocations, and I try not to miss graduations. Convocations is bringing us together with the hope and with the commitment that we are going to work and we're going to try to move this boat big boat in the same direction. It's optimistic. It is centered around how we get the work done, but most importantly, it's centered around the students who will be coming to our campuses and what is it that they need and in their best interest. So my colleagues and I understand that the amount of work that you've already done is both exciting, it's been hard, some of it has been grudgingly hard. We recognize that and we thank you for it. And I guess the other word that I'm sure that comes to your mind, it's been a little bit exhausting. But it is good work. And I guess when one rolls up one's sleeves and says, this is something we want to do, this is something we need to do, this is something that we're excited about, a little exhaustion can go a long way. Right now I'm a little exhausted, but okay. We've been in the throes of significant change. I recognize that. But it has been on behalf of our students. And we're moving in the right direction. We're making it easier for them relative to financial aid. We've looked at our resources and our wraparound services, and we've kept them in mind. Sac City has been at the forefront of making certain that our students are safe, that they're healthy, and that they're successful. Keep up the good work, because that's exactly what they need. So again, on behalf of my colleagues on the board, on behalf of myself, I want to thank you so much for the work you do, and I want to now, he is in the room, right? I want to now introduce our Chancellor, Brian King.
How are we doing in Sac City today? Great to be with you. I'm going to put this right here so I don't lose track of it. In addition to Trustee Haynes, we have our board chair, John Knight, with us. John, can you say hello to everyone? Well, I want to first of all say that the day that Michael was in his accident was a tough day. And at the end of the day, when he was settled into ICU, I finally had a chance to see Michael, Lihia, Diego, and Daniela. And when I walked in to say hello to Michael, you know, the first thing he told me was, I don't think I'm going to be into work tomorrow. So that tells you everything about Michael. His sense of humor is intact. He will be okay, but he's not going to feel great for a while. So we're going to rally around him. And I know he would have loved to have been here today. He wanted to be here, and I and many others told him it's not in his interest to do that yet. So he is very engaged in what's going on. He'll be back soon, but we are so fortunate in the short term to have Albert Garcia as acting president. Will you hold this for me? We'll come back to that in a little bit. And our other vice presidents, Carrie Bray and Davin Brown. So we're a place where change is constant, and we lose wonderful people sometimes, and at the district office we have a great team. I want to acknowledge everyone from the district team who's here, if you'll stand in the interest of time, the great group of women and men. And I want to bring to the stage the three newest members of our team, so you can put faces with the names that you will see. And they replace really legends in the district, but I am very excited about these three people. Let's go alphabetical order. Okay, see if we can work that out. Okay. A, K, M. All right, give them a round of applause. So our new Associate Vice Chancellor for Information Technology, Tamara Armstrong. Our new Associate Vice Chancellor for HR, Jake Knapp. And very big shoes to fill with the retirement of our great friend Teresa Matista, Mario Rodriguez. So let's welcome them. Thank you. So the last couple of years have been very exciting, and when you think about the adjectives to describe them, what were some words that you would use? It's been fun, it's been exciting. I heard Pam say exhausting, It's been challenging at times. Sometimes there is conflict because when we're looking at major change, it's hard to have consensus. A lot of times there's been unity in the work together, and no question that the work you have done here at Sac City has been fundamentally transformative for the students you serve. So give yourselves a round of applause for the great work that you've done. The work can be very complicated, but I want to share with you today 3 principles that I think help explain why the Los Rios colleges are viewed around California and around the nation as premier colleges and why we're viewed as a premier district. Really basic concepts. Number 1, we put our employees first. Number 1, we put you first. Number 2, because we put our people first, we are able to focus on meeting our students' needs. And number 3, because we put you first and focus on serving our students' needs, we have earned the respect and trust of the communities we serve, right? You agree with that? So let's start with putting people first. When I say we put people first, that means we have a deep commitment to treating everyone fairly and making Los Rios and Sac City great places to work. We talk a lot and use the language of being student-centered, but I firmly believe that if we are truly student-centered, that begins by doing what's right for our people. To be student-centered, it starts with a focus on our people. And how many of you have flown recently? Anybody fly Virgin American? Southwest? Okay, I'm a Southwest guy. The quote from the president of Virgin America really, I think, summarizes how important it is to put people first, because when we put the people in our organization first, then you're able to do magic. And there's no question at Sac City, you have done some magical things for our students in recent years because you are able to focus on our students because our emphasis in putting you first. So when you fly, let's be honest, how many of you listen to the safety instructions? How many of you have your headphones on during that time? So if you fly Southwest, sometimes they have a sense of humor about it, right? And if they say in case of a sudden drop in cabin pressure, the mask will come down, what are we supposed to do first? That's what I want to emphasize, that we have to take care of ourselves first or we won't be able to take care of our students. So the parallels there, I think, are appropriate. Now, I've heard some flight attendants with a sense of humor say, if you are traveling with 2 small children, first of all, what are you thinking? And then what do they say if you're flying with 2 small children after you put your mask on? What should you do next? Pick your favorite, somebody said. I didn't say that. Pick your favorite. The one I remember is she said, if you have 2 small children, and I did at that time, figure out which one has the highest earning potential and put the mask on their face first. Don't really do that. There are certainly times of turbulence in the work in the last couple of years, so let's always remember to take care of ourselves first, and only then will we be able to focus on meeting the needs of our students in these challenging, sometimes difficult times. So we have a lot of new faculty and staff. I want you to stand up and remain standing if this is your first year at Sac City. Wow. Now, remain standing. This is the end of my 7th year, so if you have joined Sac City or Los Rios since February of 2013, stand up. There are many more. So when you look at this group of relatively new people in our organization, those of you who are seated, who have been here for a while, everybody can sit down. I want you to help tell the story of the next part of this presentation, how we put people first in the Los Rios Community College District and here at Sac City. So the recession in 2008 was devastating, and community colleges around the state addressed the challenge, many instances by laying off permanent employees. That did not happen here. You go ahead. I see some people wanting to applaud. We should never, ever take that for granted. And with our board members here who have provided that fiscal leadership, we put our people first. And that's a principle that remains true to the current day. And in the last year or so, One topic that has caused some concern in the impact it would have on us is the new funding formula. So this is the second year of a new funding formula. There was fear that the new funding formula would mean that we were going to go off a cliff fiscally and that our resources would be substantially less. I want to tell you that the good news is with the new funding formula, we're doing okay. We are doing okay. We haven't had a huge windfall of new resources, but we do have more revenues than we would have had if the old formula were still in place. So what that means in our commitment to sustainable salaries and benefits, that all eligible employees got pretty good news in the last couple of weeks. How many of you had that good news that you had a 6% retro? And for new employees, you want to talk to long-term employees about how we allocate the resources after we've received them and don't make commitments we cannot keep before. So the broader concept is what we know as the bucket concept in Los Rios, where 80% of new revenues go to putting our people first. It goes back to compensation and benefits. And that ultimately benefits our student and our community by making sure that new revenues are first of all allocated to take care of our people. So the bucket system is very unique among Los Rios in California and really across the United States. And we have had the experience where Dean Murakami, our faculty union president, and I have been involved in presentations at state and national groups. This is such an outstanding concept. You will not find many districts where the union president for faculty and the chancellor are co-presenting about how well they get along and that they not only have a good working relationship, they actually like each other. So the bucket principle is very important, and in looking at revenues under the new funding formula, 90% of the new funding formula is still based on access. So the number of students we serve absolutely matters. But in addition, there are ways we can access new resources even if our enrollment is not growing, and they're good things. Associate degrees for transfer are a good thing for our students. Did anyone have a chance to watch Robert Nelson's fall college address yesterday at Sac State? I had a chance to watch the video last night, and he mentioned on more than one occasion that associate degree for transfer or transfers finish more quickly than their native juniors. And think about that. That's the great work that you're doing, that the associate degree for transfer students are doing very well. So it's good for the students, it's good for their completion to have an associate degree for transfer, and there is an incentive in the funding formula, just as there is for serving underrepresented students and helping more students be awarded a Pell Grant. So good things for our students, good things for our revenue, way that we can help put our people first. So the economy's been strong in recent years. Our revenues have increased. We know that it won't happen that way for forever. Anyone know when the next recession is going to be here? You wouldn't be sitting here now if you knew. You would probably be planning on how to spend your millions for knowing how the economy was going to change. I want to share with you the wonderful news that our board, in collaboration with our constituent leaderships, have replenished the reserves that allowed us to get through the 2008 recession without any layoffs. So we're not recession-proof, no one can be, but we're as recession-resistant as any community college district in the state of California, thanks to that good work. We're ready for that next downturn. Another way that we put our people first is by recognizing that safety is a very high concern. And in my 7 years, every time we had an employee survey, safety was one of the top 3 issues for our faculty and staff. And I know earlier today, you had safety training, and it's hard to figure out what topic to cover, but I really appreciate that our faculty and other leadership thought that safety was so important that we allocated really precious time on Friday at Convocation to talk about safety. And I wish, and I know we all wish, that this was not a topic that was we needed to allocate time to, but the news of the day, seemingly on an almost daily basis, reinforces that if we're putting each other first and being ready for the crisis we don't want to think about, part of that is allocating time for safety training. So we put our people first in a variety of different ways. Because we put our people first, we're doing magical work for our students. And the focus on equity, I know, is in the DNA here at Sac City. And I was able to spend the spring convocation with you where you had really courageous conversations about what equity means and your commitment to make sure that our students' destiny is not determined just by their zip code, the color of their skin, or their sexual orientation. You know that our work is important to help close some of the differences that have existed historically, right? You're committed to that. And you're making a difference. So one area that I cannot tell you how excited I am to share the numbers is with your courageous decision to move away from using just placement tests to place our students. You've done phenomenal, difficult work in the last year to use high school grades for placement into our classes, and you'll have chances in the coming months to drill down and look at Sac City's numbers in particular. What I want to share with you is that in our work in guided pathways, the focus on equity has been the driving force behind guided pathways and why Sac City is implementing guided pathways. And a great example is using high school performance as a basis for placement instead of simply using a high-risk placement test. So let's start with English. English enrollment, this isn't just placement, this is actual enrollment into transfer level writing across our 4 colleges. A year ago, before the changes, about 5,200 students district-wide enrolled in transfer English writing. This year, only 1 year, 2,000 more students enrolled district-wide, an increase of, that would be 38.5%. Wow! Isn't that worthy of applause? That's a tremendous increase in 1 year. Now let's look at math. So enrollment into transfer level math before these changes were made. Let me back up a step. The question may be, so when more students enrolled, did more students complete? And I don't want to bury the lead. 1,220 students completed, 1,220 more students completed transfer level writing after these changes that you thoughtfully made. So the bottom line, very impressive. Math, moving now to math. First-year students taking transfer level math before these courageous changes, district-wide 1,943 students. A year later, first students taking transfer level math, 3,211. That's 2/3 more. That's a huge increase in 1 year, 65.3. And the completion question, 749 more students completed transfer level math than did the year before. We didn't just talk about how to improve outcomes for students in math and English at Sac City. We rolled up our sleeves and did the work, and thousands of students are in a better place. And the benefits of that change won't just be 1 year. When we look at students completing their associate's degrees and transferring, we're going to see good numbers for many years to come. And this is one of many things that you have done and will do on behalf of our students. So I want to talk about 3 other areas for opportunity and innovation. The first is dual enrollment. How many of you have kids in high school at home? Would you like your son or daughter to graduate from high school and get an associate's degree at the same time? That is the potential of dual enrollment for more and more high school students to be receiving college credit, not just that AP stuff. How many of you have written checks to the College Board for AP? You can just write those checks and they take the tests and maybe it helps them in college. Dual enrollment does. They have actual college units. So we have great opportunity in dual enrollment, and it's an equity issue as well. We have to keep track of the idea that dual enrollment is not just benefiting the students who are doing well, it's also students who need some additional assistance to understand that they can do college level work. So dual enrollment, are you with me on that? Particularly here at Sac City, where with a high school enrollment that is likely to be declining in coming years, and we want to help Sac City Unified with their challenges, but the challenges of Sac City Unified are going to make dual enrollment even more important in helping the people we serve immediately around here in Sac City. So Albert, can you hand me this book? I want to first talk about zero-cost textbooks, or the ZTC program. Are you familiar with ZTC? So understand that not every course can be a zero textbook course, that there are course materials that you have to have for some courses. And as someone who taught for 10 years or more and have a lot of experience working with textbooks understand that sometimes moving away from the familiar textbook is hard and requires work. And an area that we want to work together is to make sure that we have quiz banks and other materials that help student and faculty as we move away from the traditional textbook. And whatever you think about the traditional textbook, it is on its last legs. John Fallon, who is the CEO of Pearson, how many of you have a textbook that's a Pearson textbook? Well, in 5 years, you will not be using a Pearson textbook because Pearson has announced that they're going to be out of the textbook business. They're moving to a digital space. A lot of pros and cons and things to talk about, but John Fallon said the $300 textbook is dead. Let's make that true. If we walk through our college bookstores around campus, there are materials that are in that range still. They're great materials, and we want to talk about ways that you can save a lot of money for students and also maintain high quality and academic freedom. All of those are important topics in open educational resources. So, very conservatively in the last year, just in the ZTC program, when you add up the savings for our students, we have saved our students, when I say we, it's really you, our faculty, have saved our students more than $500,000 in the Zero Textbook program alone. That's just ZTC. So there are many other ways that we can work together using open educational resources. And I want to talk about the LibreText project with UC Davis through a grant of the Department of Education that all 4 of our colleges are involved in training about OER and are using some materials. So serendipity is a wonderful thing. I was on campus here on Tuesday. On the way to the car, I saw a man with a shirt that said LibreText, and he was carrying a box. And I said, I'm sorry to bother you, but I couldn't help but notice your shirt. I'm really interested in LibreText. Can you tell me what you're doing? And it was the UCD faculty head of the LibreText program. And he said, who are you? Which didn't really matter, but I told him what my role was, and he said, well, I was going to give you a book. So do you want me to just give it to you now? And I said, I'd love to, and tell me the story of the book. And this is a Sac City story. It's not unique to Sac City. Where is Diane Bennett? Where is Diane? So the book he handed me was an organic chemistry book, Diane Bennett's book. Now, how many of you have taken organic chemistry? Okay, hard class. Materials are really important. What do you think a new organic textbook costs if you go to Amazon.com? There's a $300 organic chemistry book still out there. The cheapest I could find new in a quick search was north of $200. So the current book is expensive. About 5 years ago, Diane, and this is, I know there are stories I want to hear across Sac City like this, but this is just the book that was handed to me on Tuesday for organic chemistry. Over 5 years, this book's free online, so it can be a ZTC course. Or if you buy the book that is curated through the LibreText program, and there are other open educational resource opportunities for curation, you can choose the chapters and the material. Many different faculty members have prepared chapters in this book across the country. I believe 16 different faculty members from 12 different colleges, so very collaborative. The book's free if you get it online. What do you think it costs if you get this bad boy? $10. Only $10. So over 5 years, to get a sense about how much difference you can make in one class, 5 years implementing this as opposed to the $200 or $300 textbook has saved the students just in organic chemistry over $200,000. Isn't that amazing? So it's not easy to make the transition, and there are other examples. Nutrition at Sac City, Diane texted me this morning, has implemented the LibreText book and saves $200,000 a year. So amazing savings on an annual basis, and it's not just a one-year savings for our students. So very exciting opportunities for open educational resources. Are you excited about the possibility? So the third area for innovation and opportunity is online education. So around the state and around the nation, the demand for online education keeps growing. And when you look at the impact for Sac City and Los Rios, a couple of numbers. I don't want to bury you with numbers, but students who are taking only on-ground classes, so this is the subgroup, students who are taking only classes at one of our colleges, they're physically setting foot at Sac City or one of our colleges, down 5.4% from last year. So the number of students who are only taking their classes on ground is down about 5%. And when you look at 70,000 students across the district, that is a significant decline. If our enrollment was down 5%, you understand 90% of our funding is still based on our enrollment, the mood would be very different today. We wouldn't be celebrating retro checks and ongoing increases, I should mention as well. Many of our employee groups, in addition to one-time retro checks, had ongoing increases. So I'm not jumping off the cliff. The funding formula hasn't resulted in us jumping off a fiscal cliff. Why is that? Because students who are taking only online classes is up more than 12%. So the students are voting, not just to Sac City, not just in Los Rios, nationwide. The demand for online is going to continue to grow. And where's Melanie Dixon? All of you know Melanie Dixon. To quote Melanie, students are voting with their fingers. They're taking more online classes, and that's a trend that's going to continue. So it's also very much an equity issue when we look at who our students are taking online courses. You might be surprised as far as the makeup of our students online. What do you think online enrollment, more men or women? How many of you think more men are taking online classes? How many of you think more women? You're right. So about 2/3 of our online students are women, and you think about it, that makes sense. Women who may be parents, they may be working outside of the home, they just cannot come to a campus and study on ground. So women are huge consumers of online courses. Sometimes the perception is that students of color are less inclined to take an online course, but the data doesn't show that. If you look at one data point, for our Latinx students, you saw that 12% was the increase in all of our students, almost twice that for our Latinx students, taking only online courses. So there's a moral imperative and an equity imperative to make sure that we're providing quality, as we do in all of our courses, in our online courses, and being open to new ways of presenting our online courses. And we have a pretty good inventory of courses at Sac City and across the Los Rios district. The next area of emphasis will be in establishing associate degrees for transfers, ADT degrees that a student can complete fully online for the student who can't come to our colleges. And then, in addition, we're having conversations with BA granting institutions about how we can partner with public institutions, so after a student's completed an associate degree for transfer, they then can complete their bachelor's degree fully online. Now, if we don't do this, where will our students go, and where are our students going now in many instances for online education? Particularly our students of color are going to predatory private providers of online education. Can we say that together? Predatory private providers who charge a lot of money, make a lot of promises that they don't keep. So again, the commitment to equity at Sac City makes it an imperative that we continue to look at how we can improve online education moving forward. So 3 areas where you are engaged in the work, and I want you to let me know what I can do to help you continue moving in the direction of dual enrollment, open educational resources, and online education. So because we have this tremendous focus on our students, our community loves us in the Los Rios Community College District. And one way, many ways that the community has reflected the trust and respect they have for the work that all of you do is through 2 bond issues in 2002 and 2008. $740 million in bond dollars came to our district. And you see a nice building on the corner of the campus that has a roof on it now that was made possible because the good work that you do has earned the trust and respect of our community. We are near the end of that $650 million from the first 2 bonds. As we look forward to capital needs moving forward, our board is having a very thoughtful discussion about the possibility of a 3rd bond issue. And considering that that bond issue could be really alarmingly soon, possibly as soon as the March election, because that will be the presidential primary in a very high election, very high turnout election. So our board will have a study session on September 9th, and then we'll decide if they want to go forward and make a decision in October about placing an issue on the ballot. If those things happen, the issue would be a no tax increase for voters. That's incredibly important to understand, that through careful fiscal stewardship, if this issue is on the ballot, it would not involve a tax increase to local voters and would generate $650 million in the years to come. We are able to share information about issues like this for really good policy reasons. We can't advocate, so our staff will not be at any point telling people or encouraging people to vote in a certain way. We'll provide information if we move in that direction. And if there is an issue on the ballot, then we'll have a campaign committee that separately, apart from our employees, either our employees on vacation or away from the office, and community members, will be able to advocate in favor of an issue like this. So it's not just our local voters who have been very supportive of us, it's also our legislature and our governor. You welcomed Governor Newsom here after the budget was approved. And Governor Newsom had really good news, I'll talk about in a moment, about state bond funds. $650 million, though, is the amount that we would earn from our new bond issue. How many of you worked on the development of the facilities master plan here at Sac City? A lot of you did. When you add up all 4 college master plans and the needs list, the total amount is more than $1 billion. So even if we do move forward and have $650 million, as we always have, we'll have thoughtful discussions about which projects would go first, and there would absolutely be a signature project from Sac City and from each of our colleges if we do move forward, because the needs are significant. But when you walk around the college here at Sac City, isn't it awesome to walk through the quad and have the feeling of history, more than 100 years of history, and also see the addition of new buildings, preparing us as we're well into that 2nd century now here at Sac City. So I don't have many days where I get $100 million worth of good news. Have any of you had a day where you learned that any organization you were involved with was going to receive $100 million? We had a day like that in June, where we learned that Governor Newsom in his final budget was releasing state bond funds. And all of our colleges have benefited from state bond funds. The good news at Sac City was that the Veterans Resource Center will be funded to the tune of more than $2 million. So that wonderful news that again reflects the work you're doing is being noticed by policymakers, and they're not just talking about it, they're backing it up with resources. So our community supports us through bond funds. Our community supports us in the legislature through state bond funds, which allow us to leverage our local funds. And our community has been incredibly supportive of our Promise program. It's hard to believe it was only about 2 years ago where, standing right here, I shared a vision that at some point every first-time student would be able to attend classes fee-free at the Los Rios colleges. And at that time, that seemed like a wildly ambitious goal. And it's amazing now, 2 years later, that's the reality with help from our legislature. All of our first-time, full-time students through the State Promise program can attend fee-free. Isn't that great? So in addition to that state commitment of the Promise, locally, last month we had incredibly good news to share, and that was that some of our regional partners pledged more than $750,000, the most that has ever been pledged at one time, to reducing financial barriers for our students. So if you have a chance to acknowledge someone at Sutter Health was our lead investor, also Safe Credit Union, another major participant, Wells Fargo, or VSP, another local business. So those 4 entities pledged more than $750,000 to help provide scholarships for our students beyond their fees to address things like books. We can do that through RER as well. And want to make that point. If you're thinking about how you can contribute to the Promise program, reducing textbook costs is a very tangible way that you can make a commitment. And that's not a free contribution, as I shared. I understand, as someone who has taught, making that shift and looking at where you can reduce the cost to your students involves work and effort on your part, and I really appreciate that and want to help make sure you have the resources to do that if that's appropriate within your discipline and within your class. So just an incredible year in terms of the bond funds, in terms of public support, in terms of the opportunity to look forward and engage our community in helping us move forward in the work in years to come. So just can't tell you how proud I am of Sac City and the work you're doing. And I know Michael would want me to tell you that he'll be back before long, and don't wait to do the work. He wants you to keep doing the work. The best way we can honor him and help him in his recovery is to be able to make sure that he knows that we're not slowing down, that we understand all that he stands for, and we're behind him 100% in moving forward. So we put our people first. Because we put our people first, you've done amazing work, magical work for our students. Because that is acknowledged in our community, we have tremendous community support and a very bright future moving forward. So with that, I want to thank you for letting me spend a few minutes with you today and bring back Deborah Crumpton to the stage. And you know how much I appreciate you and the work you're doing.
Can I have a raise?
You can have a retro. All right, Sac City, have a great fall semester. Look forward to seeing all of you soon.
Thank you. Wow. Well, no raise. You know, you have to ask for what you want, don't you? You have to ask. You'd be surprised sometimes people say yes. There's some people leaving out of here. Where y'all going? Oh, my goodness. Well, I think we're still on track for a break. Is that right, Dr. Lorenz? We're still on track for a break? Okay, so I won't be long, I promise, because I know some of you are floating. So let me just share, get you a little bit ready for what's going to happen when you come back from a very short break. You know, there is I'm told somebody's operating, somebody's doing this, right? Somebody's doing this? Okay. There's a beautifully illustrated children's book called What If? That depicts an unborn child gazing upon the realities of the world. He sees war, famine, and misery. He sees human pain and ecological suffering. But he does not just look. He also dreams. He listens. He imagines. He imagines how the horrors of the world could be undone. And in his imagination, he sees their undoing. And because of this, because of his ability to see the world that he has imagined, the world he wants to live in, the world he wants to help create, he makes a decision. He decides to be born. James Baldwin wrote, "We made the world we're living in, and we have to make it over." At Sacramento City College, across disciplines and departments, offices and constituency groups, we are in the process of remaking our world. Part of this process has required undoing what was done in good faith and with good intentions. For example, dramatically changing placement policies and eliminating long, remedial, basic skills sequences. Part of this process has required us to think in entirely new to us ways, creating clearer pathways, streamlining information, and modifying our offerings to meet students' needs, not just our own. Part of this process has required us to take a hard look at our policies and procedures, like hiring, and to have the courage to name our shortcomings and transform our practices to be equitable and to be just. As we continue to forge ahead, we must allow ourselves to imagine our college and what it will look like, what it will feel like, what it will sound like. When we are able to say we are truly fulfilling our mission to serve every single student who comes to us to the best of our ability. Soon, you will meet the newly hired and promoted classified professionals, faculty, and managers. They and we are charged with creating an environment that is in every respect student-centered and student-affirming. The only way we can be sure we are living up to this highest ideal is to hear from the students themselves. Between each constituency groups, after you come back from the break, between each constituency group's introductions, you will hear from Sacramento City students who have imagined the ideal Sacramento City College, who have envisioned the highest potential for their college, who have allowed themselves to dream. This is their college. Hear their voices. Feel how their dreams sound, and imagine yourself in the future. So I know some of you right now are floating. You need a bit of a break, but I want everybody to look at your watch. I want you to set it to 10:28. Whether that's the right time or not, that's the time that's on my watch. 10:28. Give yourself 10 minutes. Please be back in your seat at 10:38.